Welcome to The Family Skeptical, Parenting Through Nonbelief.
We're a married atheist couple raising two wonderful, strange children. We ask big questions, dissect weird parenting moments, and examine how society ignores or misrepresents families like ours. If you're any stripe of nonbeliever who's involved in raising children, welcome. You are our people.
Our kids have heard all our swears, but yours might not have. So be thoughtful if there are young people listening with you.
I really don't think our kids have heard all my swears. I think I'm a Scotsman at heart. I have so many wonderful pastiches that I have yet to deploy. And I know that I have yet to deploy them because I haven't deployed them and I haven't even invented them yet, but I know I will. Because I'm a wordsmith. I'm like the old man in A Christmas Story. Some artists work with oils or clay. I'm an Oldsmobile man.
Yeah, I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but I feel like I have to now. So Jaeger was Jaeger was playing video games, and
Jaeger, yes?
Yes, Jaeger is playing video games, and he called some of the other players a word which we try not to use.
What did he say?
Which is moron.
No ableism, please.
Exactly. And as soon as he said it, I said, we don't use that. That's insulting. And he asked why. And I said, we would talk about it after he was done. So that night we looked it up, and I explained a little bit of the history, and he immediately was like, oh no, that's terrible. Okay, not using that anymore. But this is one I've really thought about because, words, like, I used to use crazy to describe a lot of things. And I've tried to really cut that out of my vocabulary as much as possible, right?
Sure.
So I went through that whole process. But I think, like, it just shows, like, how terribly we have treated people through history, that, like, all of our words for somebody not using their brain or making bad decisions or doing things like that come from, like, terrible ableist language. And so I have had a hard time coming up with alternate words. And so I was like, look, we need some words to use. So I actually did a search. I'm like, what are okay insults to use? And did a search, and it was a little bit, and what first came up wasn't so great. So the first thing I tried with Jaeger, I think I suggested dense, and he didn't like that. And then I was like, what about shit for brains? And he's like, oh, I kind of like that. I'm like, but that's long. So we kept looking, and I think what we've landed on is fuckwit.
That works.
That was the one he'd like, which I hope that isn't too bad. I hope, but, like, anyways, that was the best one we came up with. But I felt like it was a very...
There are so many other ones that can just talk about a person's general nonsensical nature. Like, you could just, like, go to the point. This is what I love about the Scots, is that they just make wonderful insults. Like the ones that just, like, bubbled up through the ether when Trump visited one of, like, his golf course there years ago. I was just like, just reiterating why these are my people. And so you could just call somebody, like, I don't know, like turd falcon. Like, it doesn't matter. Like you're basically just, you are a nonsensical person with nonsensical ideas, and you deserve to be ridiculed.
Yeah. And
you can kind of end it at that. You don't have to talk about the quality of a person's cognition, which they may or may not have control over. You could also, like, the thing that I tried to talk to the kids about is that you should not attack the person before you attack their position and their argument. You do that first, and then you qualify it and say they are being a turd falcon. Or you could say, no, that's a really silly position to take. You're better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are ways of doing it that actually promote more discussion. But when you're playing a video game, I get it. And also, there's like a whole thing where when you're playing a game, it's not mean-spirited. You can call people names and stuff.
And
in the heat of the moment.
Just to be clear, he didn't have a microphone. Like no other players were. It would have been an entirely different conversation if he was saying this to people.
Okay.
They're not allowed to call anybody anything. This was just him, no microphone, talking to himself. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I wouldn't encourage our 9-year-old to be calling anyone swear
filthy
words.
Animals. We should just invoke a little Kevin McAllister and just have him call them filthy animals.
Yeah, but it would be. Yeah, I understand now that could be very confusing. So no, he was not talking to anyone. He was just speaking to himself. But still, I think it's good to get in the practice of using better language, so you don't end up saying that to another person.
Did you see the 30-something man in Texas who drove by and a bunch of teenagers doing an standing with signs doing an anti-ICE protest on the side of the road, gets out of his pickup truck and attacks a 15-year-old girl, and the kids on video literally swarm him like freaking bees, take him down and start beating the crap out of him. Then he gets arrested, having fled for his house, but on video, so much evidence, flees for his house, shaves his beard, shaves his head, like trying to hide, still gets arrested. His mugshot is delicious.
I missed that one.
FAFO. Man. Dude, he got dog walked by a bunch of teenagers. And I'm just watching the video again right now. It is hilarious. Gets taken down by one kid and then just punched in the back of the head. Freaking amazing. Dude.
I mean, I guess if you decide to just attack a stranger, like...
A child.
Yeah.
A child. Doesn't matter. A child. Putting his hands on a child for a political opinion. And then flees like a coward, having gotten his ass beat by a bunch of teenagers, then tries to hide in plain sight, then gets arrested. Oh, man. They're not sending our best. They're sending the murderers.
Well, nobody sent him. He just sent himself.
No, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I like talking about bias and media literacy with the kids, even though they're not interacting with social media. So like right now, it's less of an issue, but it will be, which is why I like talking about it now.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a product of like an information silo. Like he literally was in that regard. He was sent. He was motivated by propaganda. And so you have a bunch of kids who are like, leave our friends alone. And then he's like, pulls up and tries to attack them because their message is, please go away and leave our friends alone. They haven't done anything wrong. And it's like, wow. And if they have done something wrong, it's essentially the same thing as a moving violation that you go to court and pay a fine for. So like he's wrong even if he's right. You know what I'm saying? So like he fell for it, got motivated, went to do the thing and got handled. And it's just delicious. Anyway, we have an agenda. Sorry, I totally derailed. And if you haven't seen the video, you should see the video. It happened in Kyle, Texas. It's really out there. It should be easy enough to find.
So, given how strange and stressful the world is right now, I was thinking about mental health days. Because I was also, pretty recently, I went back and listened to our episode with Betsy DeVille on grief. And, in that, she talked about letting her kids have mental health days, having mental health days. And I am fully on board with like all people needing mental health days now and again. But I think with kids, it's complex. And I was also thinking about this because of the sheer number of like snow and cold days that the kids have been off school.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know if we've handled it correctly. I think this year, there have been way fewer requests for mental health days. I feel like we got them more last year. I expect to get more as we near the end of the school year.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know if we've handled it correctly. So do you even know what my like final word was with the kids on mental health days?
No.
So I don't know if this is the right way to handle it or not. But my issue was I felt like they were asking for mental health days a lot. And I felt like it was often not a situation of like great need. Like nothing was going on like a lot more stressful than kind of normal.
Okay.
Which is really hard to know, which is hard to know. But like, we can't just let them miss school whenever. And like, illnesses happen and snow days happen. So they're just out a certain amount. So like, there has to be some barriers on it. And so what I ended up saying was hard things are going to happen. And we're not going to use the mental health days when something hard is happening. Like when something hard happens, we're going to put a plan in place to try to address it. So like if there's a test you're scared about, you can talk to the teacher. If there's like a friend situation, we can talk about how to handle it and things you can do. But the reality of life is that like best plans, whatever you try to put in place, they're not always going to work. And so what I said was, we're going to try to look for solutions. When you're working on a solution and it's not coming easily and you're like tired out from having done the work, like that's what the mental health day is for.
Sure.
So it's not for avoiding the issue. It's for when we've like seen an issue, tried to address it, life is still hard, we've like put in the work, but it's not working.
Sure.
Like that's when we'll do a mental health day.
Like if one of the kids was being mercilessly bullied and the school was doing nothing about it, then I would be in support of all sorts of days off of school. Basically as like a parent protest, like why should I, when you're not doing anything about it? Do I have to take this into my own hands sort of thing?
Yeah.
And to be clear, I would. If my kid was being mercilessly bullied, like it would be a new thing for me. And I would get completely autistic about it. And I would do a deep dive and I would make it my life. I would put everything else on hold. And I would just be a squeaky wheel, the likes of which they would want to make go away. And it would be hilarious to see the lengths at which, because bear in mind, I have time during the day. It isn't like I am a 9 to 5 and I'd be doing it on the side. I could make it my mission.
Yeah.
You know,
but obviously,
like, that would
if
be a
there
different
was
story.
A death or a big thing,
sure.
Like this, I don't think it has to be like hard and fast.
Or like if they're like pushing really hard through testing, and let's say one of them has like an anxiety issue regarding testing, like standardized testing, and they study and they practice really hard and they do it, and at the end of it, they're just literally done.
Yeah.
If the following day is a school day and they're like, I can't, then I'd be fine with that. So like there are obviously circumstances in which it would be completely appropriate.
Yeah. But that to me is like the thing, right? Like you've done the work.
Yeah.
And then you need the mental health day.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know if this is going to, but it was kind of the best I could do when the requests were just coming fast and furious.
Yeah. Yeah. It can't just be, I don't want to go to school, mental health day.
Because I mean, that definitely does happen too. And it's like, it's hard because I feel like there are times when there's just like nothing specific and you're still just totally burnt out.
Sure.
Hello, this month for us. I don't even know what happened to
I'm
February.
So tired. Yeah, I'm really tired.
There's just like all the things are just all this month. It is so intense. But I just needed something I could tell the kids that like made some sort of sense.
Sure. But you also want to be consistent. Like it has to be, something they can use as a predictive setup. Like, they have to be able to say, okay, at this point, I should expect a yes. At this point, I should expect a no. At this point, I'm not sure. Let me ask.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be consistent.
So I felt like that gave me some kind of rubric, but I would like love to know if people have found better solutions.
Sure.
Because you could also say like you have, I don't know, like 2 for the school year, 3 for the school year. Use as decided. But like that I feel like would have to get revised too if there was like a really special situation.
I think that's honestly like really optimistic. It has to be on a case-by-case basis. But that's obviously, as parents, the idea of adding extra work in managing child psychology is like the last thing that we want to think about. So I can see why some people might just be like, as much as possible, I'm going to walk away from the whole conversation. I totally get it. But I think it's worth having, because then what you're doing is is like teaching a kid boundaries in relationships and teaching kids that it's okay for friendships to dissolve for natural reasons. Like, we shouldn't be teaching our kids to stay in toxic relationships. And we shouldn't be teaching our kids, I think, that they shouldn't listen to their minds, that they should give that voice in their head credence, that when they say, I think I need to step back from my obligations for my overall health, because when I do that, I do the pressure release valve thing, then moving forward, I'll be more productive, energetic, outgoing, all those things. I'll be a more whole person. I'll be a better representation of who I am as a person. Because right now, I'm just running on fumes and I'm irritable all the time and all this sort of stuff. Like, we should tell them that it's okay to listen to that part of their heads.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't think for either school feels like a major pressure yet.
No.
Like, neither has enough homework that it's like overwhelming.
They love going to school. They really do.
Yeah.
And they're good at it. And,
oh my God. Speaking of standardized testing, I have never felt so old. I was talking to Jaeger.
Yeah.
Because he just did some standardized testing.
Yeah.
And I was like, you fill in the little dots. And he looked at me like I was speaking Italian. They will never do they still have the fill in the little dot tests? Because he did all of his standardized testing on a computer. He had no idea what I was referring to.
No number 2 pencils.
No number 2 pencils. Like, have the SATs and ACTs changed too? Do you think?
No idea.
It never occurred to me. I was like, what? Good God, I am ancient.
Well, I was talking to Jaeger today on the way to school because we were talking about, he was worried about the portion of the map testing that he just did, that he feels like he didn't do as good of a job as he wanted.
Yeah.
So I told him that the map testing really has no bearing at all on his academic future. It's more about the money that the state gets, or that the school district gets from the feds, or the state, or however it works. Like, it is a metric that they use for funding the school system. So in that regard, it is very important. But at the same time, like, at a personal level, it's not. And so then we started talking about the SATs. He's like, what are the SATs? And then I talked about the history of them, that when I was a kid, they were really important. And I redid them because I wanted to do a better job. The second time I had a bad day the first time, and I just did a better job the second time. But then they became less important in college admissions, and now they're more important again. And so it's like, we're just talking about when it's important to care about standardized testing. And I just reassured him that fourth grade is not the time to care about his performance in standardized testing.
Nope. I mean, I think the good thing is, because we talked about it a little bit, but he felt like it got to a point where like it wasn't material that they had covered.
True.
And I get that can be stressful, but I don't think what I'm happy about is I haven't heard either of them say that like the actual process of standardized testing is stressful. Mm-hmm. Because my really good friend, who's freaking brilliant, just like had a really hard time with standardized testing. And there was nothing she could, I mean, if she'd wanted to like spend all of her time with a tutor on that specific thing, I'm sure there's like some gains you can make. But it's hard when like that's not how your brain works and that whole process is really difficult for you.
Yeah. I had a hard, like with my ADHD, there were certain things that I did well with on standardized testing. Mm-hmm. Like with math, ironically, math. So anything with like abstract stuff and, you know, the problem solving, that was fine. But then when it came to, ironically, now as a writer, ironically, like some of the language stuff, I sometimes struggled with because I would have to read the passage and then do the whatever in short order. That was more of a challenge for me to do something meaningful with. Yeah. Almost like I felt like I didn't have enough time to do everything that I wanted to do with it. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, it's definitely true that some people are predisposed to do those tests well. But I think it doesn't matter whether or not you're predisposed. Fourth grade is not the time to worry about it.
No, for sure. And I always found them really easy. I mean, I think the biggest thing with standardized tests is you have to like be able to see how the test makers are thinking. And I was always pretty good at that.
Game theory.
Then you don't get sort of caught up in the minutia. But yeah, all on a computer. Absolutely unbelievable. I wanted to bring up something else I was thinking about. So there's an influencer I mentioned before, sort of she gets grouped in with trad wife. I don't think it's a good description of her. And she and her husband have actually moved away from the religious content a lot. I think they're trying to be slightly more sort of like just family influencers. Not entirely, but like it seems like they made a little bit of a conscious switch there.
Sure.
But she recently posted, and it was a post saying, like, stop telling me to say stuff about current events. Not everybody has to talk about everything. And I don't know what it was in reference to, but I assume it's everything having to do with ICE and Minneapolis and everything happening, just based on when she said it and who she is. That was my assumption. So she doesn't really matter. It just kind of made me think about like when it is people's responsibility to say something or not. And I don't know, like, because I was thinking about it with her, and I tend to think, like, for example, there is an interior designer I follow who only speaks about interior design. I really like her stuff because it's like super funky and whimsical. And I don't think she's mentioned anything political, but like she never talks about current events. All of her content is interior design. I'm not bothered by the fact that her content has just like remained interior design. I also wouldn't be mad if she decided to speak out against ICE. Like, I think that would be great too. But if she doesn't, I'm not feeling angry. But do you think everybody should be speaking out? Like, do you think certain people have a responsibility and others not? I'm just sort of And also, we should say, ice sucks.
I thought we weren't going to get political.
I-
Yeah. I'm joking. No,
our stance is clear. I can't stop thinking about the fact that Renee Good was older than ice when she died. Like, if you think ice can't be abolished, it hasn't been around that long.
Mm-hmm.
We had other solutions for most of the country's history.
Well, we also had ICE during the Obama administration, but like the people who died in custody or the people who died under the Obama administration through ICE actions, it was like more or less they died from medical conditions while they were in custody, which is still horrible. They should have gotten like adequate medical care such that nobody died. But nobody was getting shot in the streets.
Yeah.
There was no flashbanging 6-month-olds. So yeah, fuck ICE. But I think that the more privilege you have, the more obligation you have to speak up. I think the whiter you are, the more obligation you have to speak up. I think it's like, I listen to a lot of these, like the call-in shows, as you all know. And one of them was talking about race issues where one of the hosts was white and the other one was black. And the white host, when the caller wasn't getting it, basically interrupted, apologized to his black co-host and says, sometimes white people just need it white-splained. Like they only get it when another white person explains it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that when you have equal privilege to the person complaining, you level the playing field rhetorically. And I think you at least owe it to society to try. And it sucks that we have to spend time correcting people's educations, like decades down the line. But this is the world we live in. And like, we can't turn a blind eye to injustice. We can't turn a blind eye to, the trampling of our Constitution. And we need to make sure that, whether you are conservative or, not, that your voice has equal merit. And right now, it doesn't feel like that's the case. It feels like there's a big old thumb on the scale. And until that changes, none of us is safe. The only people that are safe are the people with a thumb on the scale or the people patting them on the back. It's just like wealth inequality is ultimately going to be the thing that we have to address, because until the money is out of politics and money is not equated to speech, the people with money are always going to have a bigger voice that the people writing the laws will always care about more. And, things like ICE come around, historically speaking, when those people get emboldened. And we would love, perhaps, to have a safer place for our children. And so, I don't like following the news. I said that years ago, that one of the best things I did for myself was to stop following national news because it was just like so deleterious to my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I have since gone back from that now that years of journaling helped me a lot. And now I feel like I'm a far more balanced person. And so because of that, I do engage in discussions online, and I'm far better at just disengaging when people prove to be too toxic to actually have a conversation, which isn't always the case. You can have disagreements with people that don't turn vitriolic. But I also think that pointing out why you're exiting a conversation so that other people can see, like you're sort of pointing out that this is where this sort of rhetoric takes you into vitriol territory, that's not productive. I don't know, like I feel like we should, in that regard, stand up and we should use our voices. But
yeah, I mean, it's hard because I think if you're truly not following things and not educated about them, it's probably better not to say anything.
That is true. Okay, yes, that is a massive caveat. Don't start conversations that you don't actually have like a knowledge base about. Don't just do the thing that you criticize the other side of doing, which is like using their emotional appeals primarily. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's easy to get angry at ICE, but it's better to be angry at them and say, this is why, and to have like a list of reasons that other people can engage with rather than just, I dislike ICE, you know?
And I think, this, to me, this does feel a little bit different, because if you're living in the US, it is our government doing this. And so I also feel like in that circumstance, there's a slightly greater responsibility, because like there are always terrible things happening in the world, but they are often not being done by people who are representing me. You know what I mean? So like that to me changes the dynamic a little bit as well, because frankly, like the voice of people in America does matter, should matter. Politicians do look at sort of what's going on, what the zeitgeist seems to be about issues. And so to me, that makes it a little bit different, because I also think making a statement and coming out in this situation actually has the potential to push the needle, as opposed to some other situations where the people involved don't really care about public opinion at all, or public opinion doesn't have any impact on the outcome.
Sure.
On the other hand, I think sometimes there are issues where like, there are like, there are some things where I'm just like not going to have a public take on them, because like I don't feel like my take is good. Like there are some issues where like I'm too close because of emotional issues where I'm like, one, I'm not an expert in them, so I'm not going to bring anything that like smarter people wouldn't have a better thing to say about.
Sure.
And two, like I'm too close to it where I feel like I'm sort of not the person to be talking, because I know my emotion, So I think there are sort of good reasons to stand back and not say anything. But I was thinking about the influencer who did the original post.
Sure.
And she doesn't post much about current events. But like, I do remember that on election day, I don't think she said Trump's name, but she did a post where it was like very clear that she and her husband were going to go vote for the Republicans. And so I feel like, you've gotten close enough times. It's hard. I feel like if she had a good take, I don't know what her take would be. It could be very influential, because the kind of people who follow her content are probably pretty mixed politically, because her stuff like isn't that extreme. A lot of it is just like parenting and fun. And so I think there probably is like a decent mix of like pretty sort of like middle of the road to conservative people who follow her. So, so yeah, I definitely think like her, I don't know, like in this situation, I feel like if she had said, look, I don't follow news, you should go to people who like have a better understanding of this, I'd be like, fine, I get it. 2 young kids. But the like, I don't have to tell you my opinions. I don't know. I was like, it sounds like they probably wouldn't be that good.
Did you see that there's a growing chorus on Reddit and on other sites of ICE new hires complaining that they're not getting their bonuses and medical care that they were promised?
Oh, really? But they have so much money. How is that an issue? They don't have good leadership. They don't have any morals.
So
they don't have good practices. The one fucking thing they have is money.
Yeah, but it could very well be that these are people, pretending to be ICE agents.
Yeah.
Doing disinformation, which, to be clear, I'm kind of in support of.
Sure, anything that makes recruiting harder.
But the thing is that when you have a dude at the top who has a history of stiffing contractors, nobody should be surprised if it's actually happening.
I don't think he's been at the top long enough to be the one causing that kind of thing. Oh, Trump you're talking about. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, this is true. But yeah, that's weird. That is not something I expected to hear. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm also swayed by the fact that in this case, I don't think there's like any question about the fact that they've done wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm having a hard time imagining a perspective where this seems complex or nuanced based on what we've seen.
Mm.
I mean, I think there are lots of situations that are complex and nuanced, and it can be hard to have a good take.
You don't think this is one of them?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I just listened. So there's a great podcast called Heavyweight. It's kind of hard to explain. They basically do like people come with sort of personal issues, and they do these incredible deep dives to like find a friend they had when they were 5 where they feel like they didn't get to say goodbye properly, and like, or, just like all these sort of weird things they research and do. But I didn't realize that host lives in Minneapolis. So he just did an episode with his wife, and we've seen all of the horrible stuff, but her stories from on the ground, not being somebody who like purposefully went to a lot of protests, she had like 2 separate instances just going about her life where she just was like accidentally surrounded by an ICE action.
Mm.
In one where she got tear gassed and somebody had to like bring her into their house. It really, I mean, I already knew how terrible it was, but I was just weeping listening because like, it's like the opposite of Portland. Remember when Portland was protesting? And the conservatives tried to make it seem like Portland is burning,
Yeah.
Like everything's terrible. And my friends from Portland were posting like, it's fine. We're like biking to the library. Truly,
I have
okay.
friends who were like, yes, we're going to the bookstore and then we're taking our dogs to the park. It's very quiet.
Yeah.
It's like,
but like what conservatives were trying to make the Portland protests seem like is like what ICE is actually doing in Minneapolis. Like the idea that you can just be like,
accusation is a confession. This is proven over and over again. And we should just expect it. Whenever they say somebody is doing a thing, we should expect that they are actually doing it or planning to do it on a much larger scale than they're claiming is happening currently.
But obviously she's not for what ICE is doing, but the idea that you could be like not purposefully going to a protest, not trying to follow ICE, not trying to be a reporter, not trying to be involved at all. And on 2 separate instances, just getting dragged in because like your car was blocked in by ICE vehicles it's just terrifying. It's just so terrifying to think about that kind of chaos on a daily basis. I'll link to that episode because like her story is amazing. And then he went and interviewed the family of, before the killings, another individual, a Venezuelan guy who was shot by ICE. And he's still in custody, but like what his family has been going through since then. And their story of like what they did to come to the US is just also harrowing and amazing. But like even if you're sort of like generally pro-ICE, I just don't see how you look at this and don't think that there are like some issues with like training at the very least. So I may be having sort of a it may be hard for me because like I don't know what else you would feel like you'd have to see to have an opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I just don't understand the perspective of like I haven't seen enough to know. I feel like it's hard. And it's here. I feel like it's also always complex when people are like commenting on things happening in other parts of the world because I think cultural context is really hard. And most of us in the US have like breathtaking little understanding of the rest of the world.
Oh, yes.
But it's here. It's us. So it just seemed, yeah, anyway. But more generally, like, do you kind of like having media separate? Like, if you're following somebody for something kind of trivial, like, do you like having that trivial space where you'd sort of like prefer for them not to bring up world stuff? Like, assume that we don't have a fascist in control and the country isn't burning down. Like, just sort of generally, like, do you like being able to separate where you're sort of like, I like that this person just talks about like embroidery.
I'm torn,
and then I can,
because because at a certain level, I want to preserve my enjoyment of like an artist's output.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't want my money going to somebody who would take my money and wield it against my children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So yeah, at this point, I do want to know, right? Like
Yeah.
there are a number of cases where I would have to be on the fence, or, maybe walk away from. And it's not because I feel like too delicate to engage with the subject matter. It's more that, again, I don't want to like contribute to the enrichment of a person who would flatly deny climate change legislation, or would vote into office people who would forward like anti-trans beliefs.
Yeah.
As for instances, there are so many other like examples I could use, but they all seem to come from the same people.
You know what my like tiny version of that is?
What?
So I really like to shop on Etsy. Unfortunately, like, apparently my tastes are entirely British because every shop I like is in the UK. But particularly when I bought things that are sort of more generic, like t-shirts, if you click through, because like you just see the item, right? If you click through to the shop, it can sometimes be like a real surprise. Because if you're not buying something like very specific and artistic, you're like, oh, this is a cute top. And then you click through and you're like, oh, thin blue line? Jesus moms? Ugh, okay, I guess I'm looking for it someplace else.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such an adventure. There's been at least like 3 times where I've clicked through and just been like, oh, shit, okay. Not this one. Oh, man. It's always great when you're shopping for like queer stuff because then you know that it's going to be okay. For the most part, there's usually not a lot of overlap with those shops and terrible political takes. All right. Should we wrap it up there?
Sure.
We need to thank Jonathan Zalbin and First Frame Music for the music for this podcast.
And that wraps up this episode of The Family Skeptical, where nothing is sacred except for our kids.
I don't think I've ever sweared so much in an episode.
I'm done. When I talk about that stuff, I don't care.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I sort of enjoyed it. I think it's what I needed for today.
Good. Glad I could help.